Hello and welcome back to the show. For those of you who are new here, which I know there's quite a few new listeners that are jumping in I want to say every week, but maybe fortnight, every time there's a new episode. Welcome. This is a platform where I share a lot of content around women's health education for clinicians. So that would be anything related to exercise prescription mostly, but also treating women's health in general from an allied health perspective, fitness professional, whatever that might be. I also like to share a lot of business content as well as personal development. I really truly believe that if you want to get real, true results with your clients, not only do you need the clinical skill set, but you also really need to understand service models, how to implement them properly, and then also personal development skills that really allow you to connect with your client and get the best for them. So when you combine all of those together, that is how you be a good clinician. It's not always just about knowledge and clinical skills. It's much more than that. So you'll notice that this show varies between episodes around education, women's health content, research, and also business content and personal development, those types of things. So if you're wondering why, that is why they're all together. So today, actually, wait. Before I get started into the content, my big goal for this platform is to have a massive impact into how clinicians, especially exercise physiologists, because obviously that's what I do and what I'm passionate about, are seen within women's health and being able to really serve women with exercise interventions. And that looks like reaching more clinicians, increasing awareness around exercise prescription in particular women's health conditions, building skill sets around that, but then also building the reputation of EPs within the industry. So the goal for the show and all the content that I produce in regard to this stuff for clinicians is to have a bigger impact in our reputation so that we can be seen as really exceptional practitioners within the health industry to help women. So I would really appreciate that you could help me do that by sharing this content so that we can really enhance the skill set within clinicians, but then also the reputation and get it out there in the world of health or allied health especially. So please share this. If you have a colleague, if you have a friend, if you have a family member, if your best friend's boyfriend's cousin sister is an EP, please share them. The episodes, it really helps bring more people to this platform and then build into that bigger vision. And that is about all of us coming together and creating more of an impact. So, and ultimately, the other secondary goal of that is actually to be able to help more women in terms of clients. I can only obviously see a few people a week in the whole of the country. Well, technically, I can see people overseas as well, but I can only help a few. And if I would like to have a bigger impact in women's health from a clinical exercise prescription for clients, that looks like helping other clinicians being able to then serve more women. So that is the goal. Big mission, but you are a part of it. So if you would like to share this, it would be extremely appreciated from me. I put a lot of work into these episodes and these shows and the educational content that I share, and it means a lot for me when you share it because it's helping with that bigger vision. And I'm only one person. So yeah, thank you. If you have already shared that, I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. Anyway, let's get stuck into the topic. Today is a business-based topic. And I feel like this is super relevant right now because of where the economy is going, but also because it was a recent experience for me. And I just wanted to share it because I felt like, oh, this is what it means to like really grasp and dive into business. And I guess anyway, you'll get the point when I finish the conversation. But I want to talk about this. I went to Sydney recently, and I went to Sydney because my family live there and I don't live in Sydney anymore. And I wanted to visit them, so I spent a week with them. The other reason I also went to Sydney was because one of my best friends had her first baby. And if you don't know me that well, I'll just share with you now, I don't have children. I don't know a lot about children outside of what my clients tell me in their consults. I can relate to pregnant women, postnatal mums quite easily because I see them all the time and I see their problems, but I don't really know anything about babies. Anyway, I felt a little bit guilty that I hadn't already been to the shops and bought a newborn gift. So I asked a lot of people in my local area, hey, like, what do you get a new mum? Like, I actually have no idea. Like, do you buy, like, everyone tells me, like, get diapers and get clothes. And I'm like, I feel like that's boring. Anyway, so I asked a couple of people and they suggested some few things here, but I really had no idea. So I went to Sydney, saw my mum. I'm like, Mumsy, I'm going to meet my friend and her newborn. What do I buy? Like, I need a present. And she said, I don't know. Now, my mum actually did suggest a couple of things. Like my sister has children, so she kind of knows. But at the same time, she's like, go to this shop. It's great, and they'll be able to give you heaps of ideas about what to buy. So I'm on the way to the meet and greet. On the way, like it's on the same day, and I turn up at the shop. It opens bang on 10 o'clock and it was like 9:50. I didn't know that it was open at 10. I thought it was open a little bit earlier, but I thought, oh, you know what, I'll just get there and hopefully she's there. So I get to the door. She's like literally unlocking the door as I get there. And she's like, oh my gosh, hello, welcome. Like, I'm just opening. Number one, I could not believe how stoked this lady was to welcome me into the shop, that she hadn't even started work yet. And she had an empty coffee, like thermos cup in her hand that clearly she gets into the shop, she opens it, she goes next door for a coffee and gets her coffee. And I was like, this lady hasn't even had her coffee yet. And she's already so nice. So this is like a win, number one. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you weren't open till 10. I'm just like, oh, I was hoping to come in. She's like, yeah, come on in, come on in. So she comes in, she's like, what can I help you with? Like, do you need some assistance? And I said, actually, yes, I need a lot of assistance. I have a friend, she has a 4-week-old baby, and I need to get her a gift. And I'm going there now, so I need to buy it now. And she said, oh, you've come to the perfect place. Do you want me to give you some suggestions? And I said, yes, I would love some suggestions. So she takes me on this adventure of baby things. And I feel like she looked at me. I was with my partner as well. So I feel like she looked at us and was like, they all have no idea about babies. And so she took me over to this shelf, I guess you call it. And she's like, okay, first thing that you need to get is a toy. But the toy can't be any toy. It has to be purposeful and it has to serve it has to have multiple purposes because it will be very useful. So this one here, which was this like circular toy that was like silicone, I guess. And everything, it was kind of like, I imagine it like I'm trying to demonstrate it. If you're watching YouTube, I'm trying to like demonstrate it with my hands, but it's like a big circle put together of like all these like silicon things. And it's like a fidget toy that's really, really great for fine motor control, but it also doubles up as a teething toy. Um, and it's all like, you know, chemical free, blah, 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 whatever. No dangers. Anyway, this is perfect. It's really great for settling babies that might be a little bit sensitive or that might need a little bit more calming. So really fantastic. She's like, they actually do like adult versions of this stuff that I've used at dinner parties. And I was like, that sounds great. Anyone that needs a baby that's settled, if a toy is going to help them, hook me up. So I take toy number one. Then she said, then you need a book. But not just, and I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, a book. Can I get it like a self-development book? Because I feel like it needs it from day one. No, anyway, so she said, babies actually can't see color unless it's highly contrasted until they're like 9 months old. So we have these black and white contrast or high contrast books that are really appropriate to start looking at with your baby. And they can see them now from this like early stages. So it's basically like a picture book with no words, but they're high contrast visual images, shapes, black, white, red type coloring. I was like, I did not know this about babies at all. Nor would I have thought to get a book that early, but it's really, really good for development. So I was like, sold. I look like a great friend right now because I'm buying really purposeful ideas. Anyway, and then she said, and then there's like plenty of other things that we can go to. And then I stopped her in her tracks and I said, look, my sister told me about these like suction cup bowls and matching spoons that she absolutely loves for her kids and would happily take lots of them as gifts because she says, you know, I don't really buy them for myself. They're quite expensive. And like, I just wash the same one all the time, but it would be so helpful to have multiple. So I was like, do you have these bowls? And she said, yes, I do have these bowls and they are extremely appropriate because as soon as you start introducing any type of solids, you can just plonk them on the table and use them. So I bought the bowl and the matching spoon. So I came up with that idea. Well, I didn't come up with that idea, my sister did, but the other two were great. And I honestly was just like, this lady is amazing. not only has she made me feel extremely welcome into the shop straight away before it really opened, I feel like I've had multiple experiences with people before where you go and you're almost like an inconvenience because you've turned up before it opened and they're like all grouchy and like, I got my coffee and like, yeah, come in, but look around, or we're not open for 5 more minutes. Did not get that vibe whatsoever. Second of all, she really knew her stuff. She was exceptionally knowledgeable in everything baby. I don't know whether she knew stuff about 3 or 4 year olds. I didn't ask, but she knew heaps of stuff about the baby, what to get, gift ideas, the purpose behind them. Really, really knew her stuff and had no hesitations with suggesting things to me. So fantastic. I can honestly say that it was a great experience just leaving it there. But then I go to the counter and I say, "Oh man, you don't happen to sell like gift bags at all? Because like I'm on my way to the shindig." And she goes, "Do you know what? You don't even need to buy it because they come complimentary in this shop." And I was like, "What?" And she had like a whole pile of already made up gift bags that everything that you purchased, anyone that came in there, if they needed a gift bag, you just got the gift bag. You didn't even have to pay for it. I was like, wow, this is next level. And this is something that I've had this discussion with multiple people lately about services and business is a business is there to solve a problem for someone. So the problem being most of the time pain or symptoms or something in relation to exercise. Let's talk about this from like an EP's perspective. But then there's another problem that usually comes about once they start. So for example, I'm trying to solve my problem of buying baby gifts. So the problem is I don't know what to buy. So I go there, she helps me, I buy them. The second problem is I need to take this to the actual party, and well, it wasn't a party, it was literally a coffee. But now I don't have it wrapped. So most people will gift wrap, extra pricing, whatever. But she was like already solved, had already thought about it and solved that problem for me. And I was like happy to pay for it, but it was so great. I was honestly surprised at how great this lady was. And I also do feel like, I want to say, the experience in shops has been not so positive lately. I feel like I've always been, like customer service is a little bit out the window, like real proper like care factor behind shopping is I just haven't had a great experience lately. Not that I shop a lot, but anyway. So maybe also because I do it online a lot and the in-person thing is a bit more rare, but anyway. So she'd already solved that problem. So like think about this for you. What are you doing currently that is the problem? You're solving that problem. And second of all, what's the next problem that comes up for people that you could then add in additional to help them? Think about it. Take that away. So we talk about that. And I was so impressed with her that I said, I would really like to say that you have absolutely nailed the business. And she said, oh, thank you. She got all embarrassed. I can't even remember this lady's name. I feel so bad, but I don't think maybe that's one thing she didn't tell me her name, but I didn't ask. So anyway, she had basically said, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I said, how? Like business is really, really hard. And I feel like you really know your stuff. And like, if I've just had a really great experience inside your shop. And she said, that means so much to me. You know, it's a really, really hard time. I've been in business now for 8 years and it's been the toughest 8 years, not just because business is hard, but because I've been through like fires, floods, COVID 2.0, which was basically like the second round of everything where, you know, things weren't shut, but there was a lot of restrictions in place and people weren't going out. And now she's like, now I'm in this financial, like economic crisis. And I feel like lots of people, like my need isn't, I'm not running an essential service, you know, like I'm selling baby stuff and like kid things, which is important, but not detrimental to someone. So it's been really, really hard and I've weathered all of the storms. So it feels really nice to hear that. And I said, I can fully imagine and appreciate this because like I've been in business a similar amount of time. Mine hasn't been affected like I guess hers has in the same way of like her problems, but I can still relate to it a lot. But she also said for her at this point in time, she has had to really think about pivoting the business to pay bills. And this was another part of this, the reason I'm telling you this story was one, because of like the great service that she gave and the problems that she solved. But the second thing was this pivoting mentality that she had. And I feel like pivoting in business can be thrown around in so many different ways. But for her, it was actually more about adjusting to the current climate. And I feel like this is super, super relevant right now because a lot of people are having financially difficult times, or they're going through very rough times. And as a health professional, that may not be detrimental right now. People will tend to drop off on some of these things that are like, you know what, I could just deal without that for a little bit. So what she did was she was talking about how mothers were coming in, or friends of mothers like me buying a present, and looking at the price tags of a lot of these items, thinking like, I just can't afford to pay for that, and they wouldn't buy it. So she actually gave an example of the rain jacket, and the rain jacket in the shop that she had bought from the supplier was priced at about $85 or $80, I think it was, which she said had no problem selling like, you know, a couple of years ago, except recently she's noticed like a drastic change in people's spending patterns. And all of those price points that were sort of above $50, she said were really problematic and she wasn't selling anything. But in saying that, she also didn't have the option available for something that was cheaper because stock-wise, she wasn't able to stock multiple different price points of the same item. So she rang her supplier and she said, look, I really can't stock these anymore. People aren't buying them. Do you have a cheaper option, or should I look for something else? Anyway, she eventually found like a cheaper raincoat that she'd brought in, same product, well, same type of product, shall we say, same purpose, cheaper price point. And she said they've been going off the shelves. They're about $40. And a lot of women are like, yep, I'm happy to spend that much money on it. Like, it's not that I don't want to cut my spending, it's that I need to be a little bit more wise with like how much I'm actually investing in some of these things in the shop. So she had basically done that with her whole shop and had pivoted to things that were in much better price ranges, which I think was extremely smart of her. And I feel like what she had said was it's actually been more successful in a sense of business revenue by having things at a different price point that were in people's budget. She still had some things that were quite expensive for people who obviously don't have those problems, or they could buy multiple things. But she said for the majority of the people, this was something that was really prominent problem in her business, and she had to pivot a little bit. So not so much completely change the business model, but just swap a few things out. And it really made me think like, this lady really knows her stuff, like about the business side of things. She was doing a really good job. And to be quite honest with you, I did judge her a little bit when I first entered the shop. I thought like, this lady, like, is she just the service lady working here? Like, she's like 60. And I was not like, I didn't get strong business vibes from her until I went through the experience with her. And then I was like, wow, this lady actually really does know what she's doing, or at least is doing a great job at what she does know. And it was really nice to see that. So I really felt like I took a few lessons away from this experience. I actually left the shop and then I was like, I'm writing this lady a Google review because I want everybody to spend money at this shop if they need to get baby things because she was excellent. And I feel like I'm becoming more conscious about where I choose to spend my money, because it's like making money is hard. Business is hard. And I should be giving it to people who are also working hard, not just people who like don't really deserve it because they're just doing a half-assed job. Maybe the service is really bad and I'm just giving them my money. So I have become really, really conscious about business experience in this sense, and have been then thinking about, well, what do I need to do in my business to actually change that so that people that come into my business feel the same as what I felt going into this lady's business. And it's really hard because you have to be quite creative and think on your feet a little bit and be a bit like, actually okay with changing things and not out of fear. So I've been thinking about all these new ways that I can create maybe a different service, not replace what I already do with, because I feel like it's quite an exclusive service. It's quite thorough with how I actually service people, and it's a little bit different. But I am very aware that there is barriers to people coming in from a price point, and I think that there needs to be like some form of like, hey, what if we did like more smaller package deals, or shorter consult times that are maybe more effective, or maybe it's like half self-paced educational stuff and half service. It could be like very, very different. I mean, I'm in the online space, so it's a lot different to doing it in person, but have a little bit of a think about like, what would it mean for your business or your service to offer a different service or something else that could help pivot, shall we say, a little bit of your business that maybe helps your business, but also helps other people. And if that's what you really care about, that's going to be really important for you. So I know I've spoken about this before in another episode with, I think Sarah and I chatted about this a little bit, Sarah Woodruff, about like shorter consult times. Sometimes, like, we generally think, oh, you know, people actually need an hour, but some people don't want to do an hour. They don't have the time to do an hour. And maybe the finances, if you cut that hour in half and like still gave them some help, but they could actually afford it, still sort of, I guess, gave you the same amount of revenue, but was maybe fitted the needs a little bit differently at this time, could be super beneficial. So if you've taken anything away from this episode, have a really good think and reflect on what you're actually doing as a clinician, whether you're working within someone else's business. Like, how are you making that person feel when they come into your service? When they see you, are they getting a good experience? Are there things that could be improved just from your point of view? If you're working with someone else in their business, it's very hard to obviously go change everything else. But could you also make suggestions to your boss, maybe, that is going to help the business overall? And or if you do work for yourself, what things could you change that, I guess, change the experience for the consumer or the client or the patient, whoever you want to call them? Or can you actually start to pivot things and do things a little bit differently, because maybe something isn't quite working in this current financial climate, or maybe where you live, or the type of service that you're offering within another gym, or whatever that might be. So yeah, lots of really cool thoughts came out of this experience. And I'm starting to, now that I'm really paying attention to other businesses and what they do really well, you really start to pick up on what's not really doing that well and what you don't want to do, and then thinking about your own service. I would encourage you to start doing the same. Really start thinking about what you see being done really well and whether or not that's something that you could apply, or how does it apply to you? So get a little bit, you know, creative, get a bit curious, and shift things around. It's definitely what I'm doing, or starting to do. It's a bit harder when things are sort of already up and running and working really well, and you kind of think like, oh, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But at the same time, there's always space for improvement and becoming a little bit more efficient, or creating a better experience. I feel like this is 2024, where everything is a little bit impersonal. So having a great experience is sometimes now rare. Well, I feel it is anyway. So there you have it. That is my recent experience from a business perspective that I wanted to share with you. I was really excited to like share this, and I nearly spoke about it on my stories on my education page, but I knew it would be longer than the minute of the story. So I wanted to share it with you here. If you have found value in this, please let me know. If you have had any revelations that you're going to do with your own business or your own service, like, I'd love to also hear about it. I'm all about connecting. But otherwise, that's all I wanted to talk about. So wherever you are, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and you have a great week ahead of you planned. But yeah, stay tuned. We have a special guest episode coming up in the next, when I drop the next one. So stay tuned for that. I know a lot of you are going to love this episode. It's very women's health specific, so you will love it. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, take care, and thanks for listening. Bye.